On to the fun stuff, which is the awards ceremony of our award selection. So the American Bar Association Criminal Justice Section has multiple awards that we present on a year-to-year basis. One of the things that COVID has done is put us behind on doing a lot of things that we normally did on a fairly routine basis. So the awards that I'm about to present are actually for 2022. So we are now going to get back on track, and now that we are meeting on a regular basis with our normal awards schedule. So the awards you have, while they are 2022 awards, that does not mean that they're any more or any less significant than what we'll award in the next few months. And I will say that one of the awards today is of particular significance to me because she is a personal friend. But I will indulge that to the end because all three of the awardees are exceptional human beings and really deserve what they are receiving today. The first award that I will be presenting and accepting on her behalf is the Frank Carrington Crime Victim Attorney Award. And that award is going to Seema Gajwani, who is Special Counsel for Juvenile Justice Reform at the District of Columbia Office of the Attorney General. And if I could read from Seema's bio, Seema's work has focused on restorative justice practices in which those affected by crime, victims, offender, and other community members are brought together to participate in a reconciliation process, usually with the help of a facilitator. Restorative justice focuses on repairing harm and rebuilding relationships in the community. Its three interrelated and essential elements are to encourage the encounter, repair, and transform. Ms. Gajwani's career has addressed criminal justice from multiple vantage points. During law school, she interned at the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, the King County Defenders Association in Seattle, and the Juvenile Justice Project of Louisiana. She began her career as a trial attorney at the DC Public Defender Service and then ran the criminal justice program at the Public Welfare Foundation in Washington, D.C. The latter position focused on improving criminal and juvenile justice systems across the country, particularly with regard to pretrial detention reform and prosecutorial culture change. I see a pattern that's developing here. Ms. Gajwani is a frequent public speaker and advocate for restorative justice practices. In 2019, she was selected to be an Obama Foundation Fellow for her work. Ms. Gajwani was educated at Northwestern University and the New York University School of Law. Unfortunately, Ms. Gajwani was unable to attend, but has sent me her remarks. She writes, "It is an honor to be awarded the Frank Carrington Crime Victim Attorney Award. I am sad not to attend the ABA Spring Conference in person this year. While I am inspired by the work of the American Bar Association, and in particular the work of the Victims of Crime Task Force, headed by the amazing Judge Virginia Kendall and Maria Paulillo, I appreciate the opportunity, but I am deeply disappointed by the Tennessee State Legislature for its expulsion of two Black legislators who led protests for gun law reform on the House floor. I could not, in good conscience, then attend a conference held in Tennessee." Over a year ago, Judge Kendall and Maria both sought to construct a task force for the Criminal Justice Standards Project and the American Bar Association to create standards for witnesses and victims of crime. They were committed to including people on the task force with diverse experiences with victims, including those who experience working with populations who have been marginalized, underserved, and even targeted by the criminal justice system historically. They also included me in this work. I've been working at the District of Columbia Office of Attorney General for 8 years, running a restorative justice program that provides victims of crime with the opportunity to meet directly with those who caused the crime to get what they need to heal after the pain of victimization. Victims of crime report wanting to have their voice and agency in the criminal process, wanting their questions answered, and wanting to gauge for themselves if persons who caused the harm truly sorry for his or her behavior, and wanting some assurance that person will not harm them or others again. Sadly, victims of crime get almost none of that in our traditional justice system. With restorative justice, they have the chance to get those things. It is why, in study after study, upwards of 90% of victims of crime say that they are satisfied with restorative justice process and would recommend it to a friend in a similar situation and would do it again if needed. I want to thank the Criminal Justice Standards Committee and the ABA for creating space to explore how to make our justice system work better, and for those who find themselves involved in it. And I want to thank them for this honor and this award. So congratulations to Seema Gajwani on the Frank Carrington Crime Victim Attorney Award. Our next award, yes, we have today is the Livingston Hall Juvenile Justice Award, and that will be awarded to Aleksandra, Chauhan. I believe, Aleksandra, you are here. So I now, if I can, provide you with a little background on Aleksandra, and then we will do our presentation. I'm so excited to have someone to give an object to. It's part of the deal of being chair. Dr. Aleksandra Chauhan is the recipient of the Livingston Hall Juvenile Justice Award, which is awarded to an active member of the bar who devotes a significant portion of their legal practice to youth and children and is making a positive contribution to the field in both in and outside the courtroom. As a juvenile defender associate for the South Carolina Commission on Indigent Defense, Chauhan has focused on South Carolina juvenile justice data collection, training and support of juvenile justice defense attorneys in the state. Previously, she was an assistant public defender in Richland County. In 2015 to 2016, she obtained 2 federal grants to open youth reentry programs at the Public Defender's Office, which focus on holistic representation of youth. Chauhan received her Ph.D. and J.D. from the Department of Political Science at the University of South Carolina and the USC School of Law, respectively. She is on the board of directors of the Lawyers Committee for Children's Rights and Every Black Girl Incorporated, and the Advisory Committee for the Galt Center South. She chairs the Legal Innovation Subcommittee for the South Carolina Human Trafficking Task Force, and is a member of the South Carolina Bar House of Delegates. Chauhan was recognized in 2017 as Juvenile Public Defender of the Year, and is a 2019 South Carolina Bar Leadership Academy graduate and a 2020 Georgetown Law School Ambassador for Racial Justice. That is an impressive resume. It is my distinct privilege to award Aleksandra Chauhan the Livingston Hall Juvenile Justice Award.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely honored to be receiving the Livingston Hall Juvenile Justice Award. I'm earnestly grateful for the recognition I have received for my work because I am very sure that every other nominee for this award was capable, if not more, of winning this award. I have faced several challenges on my way here, but each one of them has only strengthened me to make me the person I am today. I grew up in a communist Poland, not knowing what due process or constitutional protections mean. I could only dream of a world where democratic principles and values protect citizens from the oppression of the government. I followed that dream and came to the United States to experience what I imagined democracy would look like. Initially, I was enthralled with this land of opportunities. I used every one of them. But when I started to work as a juvenile public defender, it became very apparent to me that what has been accessible to me was not accessible to my Black clients and their families. Perhaps being an outsider sharpened my lenses to see that the status quo of the courts, youth courts, and the juvenile injustice system was unacceptable. At that point, my disillusion with the American democracy grew stronger and stronger. And I knew I would not rest until I see the day when the oppression, the racism, the disregard for the human being, the disregard for our children ends. Winning this award, and most of all, doing the work that led me to receiving this recognition would not have been possible without the inspiration I have received from J. Elliott, for whom I have the deepest respect and from whom I have derived the strength to challenge myself and perform better at each stage. I dedicate this award to my sons, Sanjeev and Benjamin, who make me believe in better tomorrow, and to my mother, Barbara Shudeya, who devoted her life to helping children with disabilities see beyond the barriers they were born with, and who taught me something that Marian Wright Edelman said so beautifully. Service is the rent we pay to be living. It is the very purpose of life and not something you do in your spare time. I want to express gratitude to my friends. Many of them are not here. Vivian Anderson, Garrett Zepgadis, Tracy Tucker, Amanda Powell, and many others, but most of all to Samantha Lack, whose unwavering support and loyal friendship has nurtured me every day, and that reminds me that I'm not alone and that together we can move mountains. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for those kind and amazing comments. It really does remind you that we all have an important role to play, and we do these things not just for ourselves, but our family and people that may not have the opportunity to have the same voice. So using that power that we have as lawyers is so important. So congratulations. As I said, our last award is actually pretty fun to present because I've known our awardee for quite some time, and she really is one of the people that I respect the most in the law because our awardee for the Charles R. English Award is Ellen Yaroshefsky, and everyone in the criminal justice section knows the significance that Ellen has played for decades in the criminal justice section. She is the ethical heart of our organization. And if you want to know something about ethics, you may want to talk to her because we have made Ellen the ethics advisor to our council. I think for perpetuity, I'm not sure, Ellen. And a lot of that is simply because of the quality that she has in reviewing situations and providing us really, insightful review of what the ethics of the practice of law require. When I was looking at Ellen's bio to try to provide some remarks, I found it difficult. I asked for her CV, and it goes on for pages. and I think this is the condensed version. But thankfully, what Ellen did provide me was something that I actually had asked Professor Bruce Grady, one of our former chairs, to present this award. Bruce unfortunately had a death in family. He was traveling to Florida for a funeral. But he provided me what he said would be the basis of his comments, which was a letter that he wrote for nomination of Ellen for another award. So I am morphing this because I think Bruce hits all the right points, but I do have some points that Ellen felt like were more of the right synopsis. So I'll give that to you too. So this is what you get for being here for multiple decades and giving back much more than you have received. Professor Yaroshefsky graduated from Rutgers in 1975 at a time when most of the progressive law school, at the time was one of the most progressive law schools in the country. And since then, she has dedicated her professional career to serving the public as a practicing lawyer and legal academic. For the past 45 years as a lawyer, including the past 27 years, this number is now 29 years, I believe, as a legal academic, Professor Yaroshefsky has modeled how to contribute to the improvement of the criminal justice process and promote public understanding of that process by bringing her extensive practice expertise in her teaching and professional services, and bringing her practice experience in professional service into her scholarship, which while achieving excellence in all of those realms. Professor Yaroshefsky began her career as a staff attorney for the Juvenile Indian tribe and spent 6 years as a public defender, then a private attorney in Seattle, and then 6 years at the Center for Constitutional Rights. She joined the faculty at Cardozo Law School in 1994, where she taught both clinical and podium courses and directed the Jacob Burns Ethics Center. In 2016, she was recognized for leadership in the fields of legal ethics and criminal justice. Hofstra Law School appointed her to serve as the Howard Winton-Stein Distinguished Professor of Legal Ethics and the Executive Director of the Monroe H. Friedman Institute for the Study of Legal Ethics. Currently, she serves as Associate Dean for Research in the Faculty Development. There are multiple paragraphs to go, but I'm not going to read it all, but I am going to say that when Ellen was asked, what are the things that you feel should really be those hallmarks of her career, she listed these things that are significant to her. That many clients that I have served to represent, especially in politically sensitive cases, like the year-long 1984 to 1985 sanctuary trial in Tucson, and the battered women in the state of Washington, and then around the country when I worked at the Center for Constitutional Rights. If you know State v. Allery in Washington, that allows for expert testimony in battered women syndrome. That was her client. And trust me, I know because I practice in our domestic violence unit, and we did work that stemmed directly from the work that Ellen did. She also spent 25 years working with the Innocence Project and was one of the original lawyers at Cardozo, Barry Sheck, and the Criminal Defense Clinic, where they set up the project. Being on the Executive Council of the Institute for the Innovation of Prosecution, where she got to work with many of the country's most progressive prosecutors, and she consults with those offices even today. Currently, working with NACDL to set up a national resource bank for people and organizations who will be prosecuted for abortion-related offenses, and also the years in the ABA criminal justice section working on ethics resolutions and approvals. Ellen is really an exceptional human being. As she said, that she's worked behind the scenes to advise scores of lawyers in testing ethics issues. And I think that's why this is significant that today. It's not behind the scenes, it's front of everyone. So Ellen, it is my distinct privilege and honor to present to you the Charles R. English Award.
Seattle. I still, to many people, consider it home, although I'm really a New Yorker. But it's wonderful. I'm also very gratified to all my peers here in the criminal justice section and colleagues who gave me this award. It's really wonderful. And I particularly want to thank Bruce Green. I wouldn't be in the ABA if not for Bruce Green. And I'm really proud to get this award in Memphis, of all places. I'm proud of the Tennessee Three. We all watched Judge Justin Pearson and Justin Jones and Gloria Johnson stand up in such a way that's courageous and inspiring. And Steve, for a while when you were talking, I thought, oh, he's a law professor talking. No, these are ideas that you took as a law professor, and now you're engaged in making these things happen. It's amazing. So I'm really inspired by your work. I just want to thank my husband who's here, Eric, who has tolerated a lot of my excesses and sort of other things, but he's also tolerated my sincere but apparently delusional belief that I was going to stop working when I turned 75 this year. And I was off last year on a sabbatical, and I realized that I really need purpose in life, and that I find purpose in the work that I do here and the other work that I do, and will continue to do so, even though he plans not to work a bunch more. He'll still do other work too. Here we are. I feel very fortunate that for the last 50 years I've been able to engage in meaningful work. As a friend of mine said, you make your own steps, and I'm really happy to be able to do that. As you heard, I've represented a wide range of clients. I've taught scores of wonderful students who've gone on to do terrific things in social justice, developed a social justice program, work with the Innocence Project. So there's lots of work that I'm not just proud of, but I'm really thrilled that I've been able to do. And I was going to say, who knew I'd end up in the ABA? And here's why. I'm the first person in my family to go to college, and obviously the first person to go to law school. And when I went to a progressive law school and was schooled by one of the country's foremost, what we now call a social justice lawyer, Arthur Kenoy, he was one of the major lawyers who went down south in the 60s and did all of those cases. He and Bill Kunstler and Morty Davis, who formed the Center for Constitutional Rights, represented Martin Luther King, brought all those major cases in the South in the 60s. He was our mentor, he was our professor. And so in law school, we all became part of the National Lawyers Guild, which is a progressive legal organization founded in 1937 because the American Bar Association did not admit black people. Right? And so if the ABA were still the same today as it was then, we wouldn't all be sitting in this room. And so as a proudly a member of the National Lawyers Guild for many years, not thinking that I would ever join the American Bar Association, shall we say. In Seattle, when I went to work there were at that time, there were 12 felony lawyers in Seattle. It was a small town in 1975, and I was one of 2 women in the city of Seattle who were women in criminal defense being told that you women can't do felonies, and we would say, just watch us, right? So, I can't believe I've been practicing law this time. I don't really feel like I'm 75 years old, but apparently I am. But I just want to say, particularly for young people in this room, for the young lawyers, it's really serendipity that gets people places. You've got to follow your connections. You have to follow your passions. You have to do what you want to do, because things happen that you would never expect. And I think that's probably, for me, the most important lesson. I'm really fortunate that I ended up in the ABA. I'm fortunate that I frankly ended up in legal ethics. I had no intention, and we didn't have to take legal ethics when I went to law school, right? It didn't exist. It didn't exist in Watergate. That's another story. But what happened was, here I was happily running a criminal defense clinic with Barry Scheck. He went off to do OJ. We were also running a trial advocacy clinic that we ran every year for our students, where we bring together all the best trial lawyers from around the country. It was a lot of fun. We had a really good time. We met many, many lawyers. And one of our benefactors came and said, I want you to teach ethics the way you teach trial advocacy. Barry went off to do OJ in LA, and so here I was setting up an ethics clinic, which is how I got involved in legal ethics, and then learned to love legal ethics, and I became a legal ethicist. But it's one of those things, it's serendipity. You never know what's going to happen. You have to follow your own steps. When I joined the ABA, you know, the mantra, Steve Salzberg mantra was always, it's the unified voice of criminal justice. I'm not sure I really believe that very much, because certainly it came from a culture where defense lawyers really didn't talk to prosecutors, and vice versa. Prosecutors didn't particularly trust defense lawyers, and I don't know about judges, but it didn't seem like it was much of a unified voice. But I have to say, I am so proud of this section and all the work that it's done over the years. The way that the personnel have changed. I mean, when I look around this room and I think of the people who become my friends and colleagues over the years, we were serious about diversity. We really took diversity seriously, and equity and inclusion. I think the work that the section has done, just in the incredible conference that you and others have put on today, is a demonstration of how far we've moved. Yes, we do white collar work. I don't want to say we have to do white collar work. There are white collar, some of my best friends are white collar lawyers, right? But that's the essence of the financial backing of the ABA. It's always been a critique of the public defenders and people who are in social justice that the ABA is just a corporate organization. It's not. And I think we've done an excellent job, and I credit the people who have been in leadership for the last 10, 15 years, as long as I've been here, of being able to meld the white collar work that we've done with all of the other concerns we have about social justice. And I think we've done a terrific job. So I'm thrilled to be part of all the work that the Women's Task Force has done, the DEI work. I can go on and on. I just really am so pleased to be here. It's a dark time we live in. I know we're here, we're really hopeful, but as we were saying this morning over breakfast, it's really hard to wake up every day to yet another mass shooting. It's really hard to wake up to see Ron DeSantis in Trump in the newspaper all the time. It's a really hard time. At the same time, I think it's a really hopeful time, and I hope that will keep us going. Justin Pearson, like a new hero in my life, I'd never heard of him before the Tennessee 3 said, "Let the light shine out of darkness. I believe we will move forward committed to social justice with new young people joining the fight each year. Our hopeful work forward will bring light to this very troubled country and world." And so in the name of that commitment to social justice, I'm deeply honored for this award. Thank you very much.